This is the route that's going to save you some money, give you some peace of mind, and also you can get for free.
What's up, Brite Nation?
What's up, Brite Nation?
Here's the deal. Every year, Kevin and I plan a trip to Colorado. Why? Because it's beautiful and it's home to some of our most favorite trails in the entire country.
That's right.
Also, it's like 130 degrees here in Utah right now. And when you go to 13,000 feet in Colorado,
it's like 128.
It's significantly cooler. But as most of you know, the stepchild is under the knife, and there is a lot to do before it's done. The demon child is for sale, or honestly,
probably already sold.
I think probably sold by the time this video ends up coming out.
I know there's people like, oh my God, that much money for a Jeep, but you know how many emails I've gotten and calls, and
so
I think it's already sold.
It'll probably be sold by the time this video comes out. But that means that the only option we have left to take on our trip is the Bronco Raptor. I'm just kidding. We're extremely excited about that. However, as most of you also already know, we've recently put the 74 weld billet aluminum steering rack onto the Raptor.
Well, Chris did. So they put the billet rack on there, which is great.
Fantastic.
Now we don't have to worry about the rack breaking off.
The downside is
still have a problem.
We moved the weak point from the steering rack to what was already
the weakest
point
of the tie rods.
Is the tie rod. Everyone knows with independent front suspension, your weakest points are generally your tie rods and your steering racks. We took care of one, and although the Raptor has a stronger tie rod than the regular Bronco,
it's like 1 millimeter bigger than the regular Bronco.
We still don't fully trust it out in the wild.
No.
So
that's why we got these. All right, now I am a little bit disappointed in myself for this because I know, like you, and what I wanted was to push the Raptor to break things and then repair it. Problem: things on the Jeep when we did that, most things that you would bend or break, you could still get off the trail. You could still drive. You could still get things, and there was parts available for it. And people were around to like help you with available parts. The Raptor, on the other hand, the parts aren't really available that way. Not like if we break out in the trail in Colorado in the middle of nowhere, you don't just call a local shop and they're like, yeah, I've got a Jeep tie rod sitting here or a Jeep whatever. No, it's a Bronco Raptor. It's brand new. There's no plethora of used parts everywhere. So the other option was to leave it on there, pick up this stuff, pack it with us, and then if I break, or when I break, then change it there on the trail. But I'm like over that. I don't want to do it.
And also,
it's my birthday. This is a birthday trip for me, and I really don't want to be working on it. So we're gonna go one step ahead. We're gonna go what I actually recommend to people is don't ruin your vacation. Right? You bought this super cool vehicle. You want to take your family out. You take a week off of work. You head off into the mountains, and maybe your first day you bend a tie rod in the middle of nowhere, and now half your vacation spent trying to get your freaking Bronco or Bronco Raptor fixed. So we're avoiding that. We're doing as I say and as I do now. What you have here are two different setups from Faust Motorsports. Since we have the rack, since we have the billet rack, we're going with the full replacement tie rod. This is 100% pure beef. I don't know what the breaking point is now. Like we have the rack, we have this. I guess we break a knuckle. I don't know. Like I'm just saying if it was that bad.
What he means to say is we won't break anything at all now.
Right.
And we'll have a wonderful time for the years to come. And we'll never break anything ever.
Yes. And then what you see here is their half tie rod kit. So if you don't have the billet rack, you're not doing crazy extreme stuff. You go with their half tie rod kit, and then you can add in these inner tie rod sleeves. So this is separate. So you can buy these separate, or you buy these on their own, or you can add these together. This is the route that's going to save you some money, give you some peace of mind, and also you can get for free. Since we got all of this, we're actually giving these away. So here's how this is going to work.
They basically sent us these so we could kind of decide, and
show.
there's like whatever you don't want, clearly we want these. We know we're going to beat the crap out of this thing.
Yes.
And we're going to take it beyond what we should. But that's fine, which means we're not going to use these, which means we can give them to someone.
Right. After I contacted them about that, they said, you know what? For your fans, why don't we just offer them any of the tie rod, half tie rod kits with the sleeves for any generation Ford Raptor. So Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3 Ford Raptor, the regular Bronco, the Bronco Raptor, the Ram TRX, like basically any vehicle Faust Motorsports makes this kit for in their catalog
is up for a giveaway.
So if you have a Bronco Raptor, you can win these right here. Or if you have any of the other Raptors or TRX or regular Bronco, you can win that too. And I think what we're gonna do is make this easy. just follow their Instagram, go like and follow their Instagram, like their YouTube, and then we're going to put their email address on the bottom as well. So it's Fouts Motorsports. What you want to do is email them, let them know that you want to be in the running for the free parts and that you have followed their YouTube and their Instagram, and that's it. And then what vehicle you have. They're going to randomly select somebody. They'll let us know, hopefully, and we'll update everybody. We're going to go with this here. It does come with new boots. Oh, we do have to talk about the boots. You absolutely have to run boots. If you get any water into the rack, it will kill the electronics because it's an electronic rack. It'll kill the electronics and you won't have any steering. You won't have any power steering. So it is important, super important, that you make sure it does come with hose clamps for here, zip ties. Maybe I'll double zip tie it because we do plan to go through water. We go through mud. We go through all kinds of stuff. On your Broncos, guys, any Bronco you have, if you ever see your boot ripped on your factory one, replace it, seal it. Do whatever you have to do, because if you get water in there, you're SOL.
Now these tie rods are full billet aluminum and they come equipped with FK rod ends, more specifically PTFE lined FK rod ends, which if that means nothing to you, just know that that means they're very high quality, and on top of that, they're going to be really quiet. They're not going to make any noise. Minus
you make
that.
All that
I know.
Noise?
That's the bolt part.
Yeah, so right inside here, there's a liner between here and here. That's when you get water or anything in there, it doesn't start.
They don't eventually start to squeak or make noise on you.
Yeah.
These will stay pretty quiet. Now what's even cooler about these is the install is super easy. All you gotta do is grab yourself a Chris. Oh. And it'll be done lickety-split.
Let's get to it.
All right, how easy is this, Chris?
If I recall, it's very easy and you can do it in the driveway. You just need a jack and these tools. Some dikes. So if you have a factory boots, the factory boots you have to cut the clamps off the factory boots.
Yeah.
But we've already done it, so all we needed is a screwdriver. 21 millimeter takes the ball joint off of the spindle. This takes the other little clamper guy off. You need a fairly decent size crescent wrench to get the actual
nut off the rack.
The big thing off the rack. Plenty of room, and you need tape measure. This is how you're going to get to the alignment rack without all the way down the street.
Right, to make sure you get it close to straight. Close to straight.
If you have an 1 1/8" wrench, that'll be helpful. 1 1/4" will also be helpful.
A hammer?
A hammer.
That's to bang on the
or a fist
stuff.
To bang on stuff. If you get these kits,
a 12 point.
You need a 12-point half-inch. That's going to probably be one of the craziest tools if you don't have it. I have a bunch of 6 points, so I had to find a half-inch, and that's it. If you don't have one, get yourself a creeper. But if you don't have a Kevin, get yourself one of these.
Also worth noting, it is easier to take the wheels off, but it's not necessarily necessary.
Yeah.
So we're just not gonna.
You really don't want to take them off? You can get to that? Okay.
Hold on.
All right.
Hold on, Chief. Once you have the wheels off the ground, find something to measure to, because you want to measure the front of the wheel. Make sure the steering wheel is straight also, which I just did. So from steering wheel, make sure you measure from like the rim to, I don't know, let's go to this right here because we're at 15 7/8. So we'll go 15 7/8 to here, and then we'll go around to the other side. Measure this side to the front of the wheel.
I was going to say write it down, but you literally have video proof of what you're saying.
15 16 7/8, close enough. So that one's, we're pretty even, that's good. Now you can take the wheels off. God, they're easy. Make sure your boots are clean before you start pulling them off, because you don't really want to get dirt and everything in that rack, because it will now be open. Make sure they're clean. A pair of pliers will take this one off, and you'll need a pair of dikes to cut the top one off, unless you've already been in there and you have a regular hose clamp like we do. So we have a regular hose clamp in there. Just get in there with a big crescent wrench, which I've already done, and then you can take the whole thing out without taking this apart, which is a plus, because you could use this as a spare if you're going with the whole kit. And you just back this guy out here. Ta-da!
Okay, so Chris has got the factory tie rod out. And Fouts Motorsports actually provides what we're using, which is the full tie rod kit. But they also have, like Kevin said earlier, the half tie rod kit, which you can add sleeves to as well. For 99-ish maybe % of people, this will probably be more than enough. Everyone knows we abuse ours well beyond what they ever imagined possible, which is why we're going with these. But I'm gonna show you why this is probably more than enough for just about everyone. And the reason why is because if you look at this factory tie rod, which by the way is made of cast aluminum, whereas these are all made of 6061 billet aluminum. So in that aspect already they're significantly stronger. But then you consider the diameter differences between all of these bad boys. And keep in mind, this here is on a Bronco Raptor. What comes on a normal Bronco is significantly smaller than even that. There's a reason why the tie rods have been, everyone knows, the weak point on the Broncos thus far.
You gotta think, so what happens is this is inside there, and then whenever you bind up, it literally kinks right here, or it just breaks the rack off from this right here.
Making the tie rod, or again the rack, your entire weak point, which is what we're eliminating today. Right. Now the sleeve would go right over this. In and of itself, that's already gonna strengthen what's generally one of the weakest points of the tie rod. As you can tell, it's the thinnest point. It's where all of that kinetic energy when you're bound up is gonna result in disaster. You can kind of see just the sleeve in and of itself, the difference in size that it adds.
Yeah, you're gonna save money going this way, because if you don't need this, it's huge and
it would
it's
be
more expensive.
Overkill and more expensive if you don't need it.
Right, and when this will work perfectly fine. So I'm not talking you out of the full kit at all. Do the full kit, and it comes in black and orange, or I like just straight billet shininess as well. This is not good. And also the ends here. The whole reason to go with the Heims is this shank here, because you can break this off as well. So there's a lot going on here that everything is just more beefy.
We got rid of the one weak point, which again was the steering rack. Now we're trying to eliminate basically all the others, which is everything along the factory tie rod. So gonna get rid of all that and hopefully have no issues for any foreseeable future with the Bronco Raptor until we start jumping it off of cliffs and stuff.
I'm not doing that.
So next up, we're putting the new boots on. And we were gonna anti-seize this, but it looks like Fouts Motorsports already did that for us.
You got some on there. Good, because you don't want to put steel and aluminum, because if that corrodes, you ain't getting that out of there.
No.
I don't care how hard you try.
But they did it for us. These guys are good.
So the next thing you want to do is get this clevis installed with the supplied bolt that they have. I put a little bit of red Loctite on there, because that's the last thing you want to come loose, because that would just destroy everything. And also, I found on the Ford website that the inner tie rod should be at 89 foot-pounds. So this is what we're set up to. Then you want to make sure you have the boot on and the Heims roughly in the same distance so that you don't run off one before the other. And then you have to get it inside that clevis in there, but it is inside the frame. So this is where you get your creeper to turn all the way to the right. There you go. We're good. You can get that bolt in there. And I'm pretty sure you have to get the bolt from the front to the back, otherwise the end of the bolt will roll on here, and you don't want that either. So that's how she's got to go in there, just like that. Make sure you have both the misalignments in the ball before you go full lock, so that now they'll stay in. So if you do it the other way, you're going to pinch them, and you're going to pinch the side of the Heim. As you can see, these misalignments are now inside the Heim, which is what they're designed to do. So that's how you're going to get this whole setup into there.
So as you can see, we now have massive toe in, basically angled in and angled in. So this is what your Bronco would look like if you had a broken tie rod. You'll see it even more so when we put the wheels and tires back on. But that's just because Chris didn't line up or measure the new tie rods before putting them on, because that's why he took the measurements in the start. So we're gonna put the wheels and tires back on, roll them out until we get to where we need to be. And then tomorrow, we will actually be taking the Bronco Raptor in to get an actual alignment done to make sure our toe is exactly where it needs to be. Better for you though if you have toe plates or something. I don't know why we don't. We have enough vehicles plus a drift car that we should definitely own toe plates, but we don't. And we know someone really good in town who loves doing alignments on our off-roading vehicles all the time.
We're off by about almost a half inch right now. So if we just go like this, stay. Ooh, spot on. Come into this side, long on this side. I went too far. Right about there. So now you just make sure you set it to the measurement that you had. We'll lock down the Heims, which we just did, and make sure you put the boots on because you don't want water in them. These are very large boots, so they're very, very nice to deal with. This side has a stupid little oil drain guy, so you don't get it all over the rack. It's definitely in the way. All right, so I did manage to get the inner ones on. They were not as fun as I thought they were gonna be. So these come with nylon with the stainless tang in there to keep them on, but we're gonna go to an alignment tomorrow, so I'm just gonna put 2 regular zip ties on it for now, and then tomorrow we'll put the 2
fancy zip
ties on there. I have a feeling they put zip ties on here because they want this boot to move, because as it gets longer it'll move on there but not let any water in. We'll just cut this guy back. Now we're gonna drop it like it's hot. Well, lukewarm anyway.
Alright, so I am heading down to go get the alignment done. It's the next day, and I will say that steering wheel is pretty dead on straight, and it's driving pretty damn straight. I don't know if Chris nailed it. There's a little wobbly, it might be a little toe out. I'm curious. I mean, no hands on the wheel, we're just cruising down the highway, no problem. We'll see, that's what I'm curious about, how close he actually got it. All right, so if you're down here in the Hurricane area, you come out wheeling, something happens. We use these guys, Color Country Automotive. They've done our Jeep, they've done our Corvette. The guy here is super cool. So like we brought the Corvette in, a drift car. And so he did a full drift spec. We told him what we wanted. So it's not, yeah, they're just super cool. So if you want something specific, if you want a little toe in or a little toe out because you prefer your Jeep a certain way, or right now the Ford Bronco. So I think we're gonna set this back to factory spec. He said he can actually add some caster to it, which is kind of nice for long haul driving. Makes it a little more stable. But these guys are super awesome. This isn't like a plug, like they do this stuff for free. We pay for everything. Actually, I tip them extra for taking extra time for our stuff. You know, we give them money, but because they're awesome, we like to point these guys out. And if you need anything, they're generally pretty busy. Here's their lot of cars they're probably working on. Let's see how close Chris got this. We were kind of just adjusting it while it was jacked up, but now that it's on the ground, I guess it's hard to tell in the video, it's towed out pretty good on both sides, which is probably, I mean, I'm surprised it did. I showed you, I had my hands off the wheel. It's going straight down the road. It was just a little twitchy, but yeah, can you tell? Yeah, you can tell. See how the front of the front tires literally pointed way out, but oh well, that's why we're here. So he's actually gonna adjust it before we put everything on, because it's a little too far out. It might throw the machine out of whack, so he's gonna kind of eyeball it and get it a little straighter. You can see how the front of the tire is sticking out past the back of the tire. Oh, there it goes. He literally like nailed it just eyeballing it. We're gonna match up the cambers here, go probably about a half a degree negative, is that or 0.3 is where it wants. And then we're gonna run as much caster as we can. So we'll see how much caster we can get out of this, because the more caster you have, the straighter it wants to drive at high speeds, and it's more stable, and it wants to center the steering wheel. So if you're turning one way and you let go, it wants to bring it back to center. It makes it nice. And then toe, whatever toe wants to be, I guess. It just wants to be straight, I guess.
16th toe.
16th, yeah. It is sick. I'm super excited. With the 74 weld rack, tie rods, I don't think we have anything to worry about now. Next will be ball joint, like deletes, going with like billet arms or something, so I don't rip those out. But we are about as good as you can get. That's as much caster as we get. We thought we could get more, but that's fine by me. Toe's good, camber's good, everything's perfect. I should have gotten alignment a long time ago. I don't know if the alignment was kind of messed up from the factory, or if me rock crawling it did something, or what's going on, but it drives like a totally different vehicle. I think now I can have some fun, we can have some fun, and then from there, I think maybe we do long travel, trailing arms, coilover bypasses, and just turn this thing into some crazy monster. But then I feel like the motor's gonna be kind of anemic with all that, and we're gonna want a V8 swap, and I don't know if that's figured out yet, but maybe we need to. Well, until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Remember, you can find all of your Lite Brite Nation merch and decals at LiteBriteStudios.com. Well, I love you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
But as of right now, I'm going to take this boot right off.
Still working on the boot?
Still working on the boot. What about the boot? What about the boot? What about the boot?
What you talking about?
What are you talking about? Well, the boot. What about the boot? What about the boot?
You want to just use duct tape instead?
Yes. Little bubble gum?
Just a little bubble gum. Duct tape?
I used Gorilla Tape on Brittany's rear
350Z.
350Z boot, and it was on there for like
My
years.
old 350Z, my drift car that I competed in Hyperdrive on Netflix with, had Gorilla Tape instead of a CV boot for like 3 years.
Well, I had the CV boot, but it was all torn and mangled,
Yeah, well,
and I didn't feel like pulling the axle out to put a new boot on it.
We figured we'd replace it at some point, but it never gave out, so we never replaced it. Like, it was like that on hyperdrive.
Yeah, it was probably still like that.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's in the junkyard like that now.
Unless it's a Bronco Raptor and you need better tie rods because the factory ones can't hold up to stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to, being stranded in a drift car on the track is a little bit different than
being stranded
in the mountains.
In the middle of nowhere.